Hi everyone, thanks for joining our webinar, Quality as the New Operational Risk, How Quality Assurance Strengthens Control. My name is Jacob Szeszko. I am Head of International Engagement at Altkom Software. I'm responsible for our international cooperation with clients and partners. I have almost 20 years of experience as a manager working with many financial institutions across Europe and with companies in other industries like insurance and automotive. Altkom Software has been a partner for banks and insurance companies in Europe for over 2 decades. And for more than 2 years, we have also been actively supporting our clients in the GCC region, especially in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, helping them with digital transformation and quality assurance program. The idea for this webinar came from what we see in real projects. Organizations release faster, systems grow more complex, and one small issue can immediately impact customer trust, especially in web and mobile channels. So we decided to share our experience and talk about how to manage this risk in a practical way. The person who will go deeper into QA and risk is Piotr Janiszewski, our test manager. Piotr, could you please introduce yourself?
Thanks, Jacob. Hello, everyone. I'm Piotr Janiszewski. I've been working as a quality assurance engineer for over 17 years. I started as a manual tester and then progressed to the test automation. From there, I moved to the performance testing for the large communication solutions, which also gave me an insight into the test environment management. And I finally moved to the test management, where I drive the quality assurance programs across the multiple teams. Most of my recent work is with the large financial institutions, where every serious failure in production has a very visible cost, whether it's money, compliance, or reputation. Today, I would like to show you how we can treat quality assurance not as a testing, but as a way to control the risk in the structured way.
Thank you, Piotr. Before we started, let me quickly walk you through today's agenda. First, we'll talk about why quality has become an operational risk and how user behavior, especially among young users, has changed. Then we will look at quality risk and the cost of poor quality, both the obvious cost and the hidden ones. Next, Piotr will show a practical journey towards value in 4 key areas: test automation, test data, performance test, and environment management. After that, we'll go through a simple test process model that connects business needs with daily QA work. Then we will focus on test areas, the typical risk there, and how to reduce them. At the end, we will discuss what a target operating model for quality assurance can look like. So if you have a question during this session, please use the chat. This event is live, so feel free to use this opportunity. We'll try to answer by the end of the session. Okay, so before we go to the details, let me start with something we always see every day. I am 42, which means I still forgive my apps when something breaks. If my banking app is slow or something doesn't work, I usually think, okay, no problem, I will try again later. Maybe it's a generation thing, maybe I'm just too optimistic, but the younger generation is totally different. I see at home every day, my son is 17. If an app's slow, if onboarding hangs, if something doesn't work in the first second, he doesn't wait. He doesn't call support. He just delays the apps and moves on. No second chance, no patience, no loyalty to the brand. Just, this doesn't work, goodbye. And this is the key message behind our title. Quality is now an operational risk. One bad release is often enough to lose customer and never come back, especially on mobile. Piotr, from your side, what does that mean for quality assurance?
Well, you've described the shortened attention span of the younger customer. It means that the, let's call it, tolerance budget for mistakes is basically gone. Well, the older customers still have some sort of attachment to the brand, the bank in which they have their mortgages. They might be annoyed by slow work of the application, but they will probably stay with you. Older client is, let's say, used to the concept of waiting for something to happen, or is capable of seeing the mishaps for the application or your environment as it is. It might happen. It's not a problem. But for the younger people, the Generation Z, so-called, doesn't have this attachment. Their loyalty is only to the good experience. If their first contact with a product is slow, unstable, or, God forbid, confusing, their attention is gone. The application is gone from their device in a few seconds, and they probably won't give you the second chance. So when you talk about the quality assurance today, you're not talking about finding errors, squashing bugs, or preventing defects. We're talking about protecting the only few seconds of attention we get from the user. This is why the quality becomes an operational risk, not only one of the metrics.
Thank you, Piotr. You often explain this idea of risk with a very simple picture. The trade-off between doing things fast, cheap, and with high quality. Can you explain how this relates to quality risk?
Yes, it's an easy way to show the trade-off. So if you want something quick and cheap, you need to take into account that the quality of the product will be low. If you want something quick and good, then it will be expensive, that's for sure. If we want it good and cheap, it probably will take a lot of time. In the real project, the deadline are often fixed. So business want to release on the specific date. Scope to release is pushed to the brink of overflow. And the easiest place to cut is the testing time. When we count testing, we are not only saving time and money, we are accepting more quality risk, higher chance of failure resulting in the incident or over time of customer complaints, sometimes even regulatory problems. So the real question should not be, can we skip some tests? But the question should be, how much risk are we accepting for this particular release?
Okay, if we accept more risk, we also accept more cost, sometimes visible, sometimes hidden. In your experience, Piotr, where do you see poor quality creating the biggest pain?
Well, it usually splits into two groups. The traditional quality costs everybody knows are like testing cost, cost of the rework, sometimes customer returns or compensation. But we are forgetting about the hidden cost of the poor quality, which are much bigger, and there are more of them. The one of those is an expensive overtime. The people will work during the nights, during the weekends, after bad release to fix the problems that were introduced. Well, expediting costs of the hot fixes and disruption to the release roadmap. Well, also the hidden cost is should be treated the unused capacity. Because the teams will be busy fixing the previous problems instead of generating new code, new features. And the next thing is the delays in planning and overdue deliveries. So the once again, it will impact the and disrupting the planning and production of the software, let's say. Also, the hidden cost is a complaint handling in the call center or the back office. The big thing for the hidden cost is a lost revenue, lost sales. It will represent itself in the customers who quietly move to another product, which don't have the same problems as yours. And I think the most important hidden cost is the damage to the brand reputation. It will be visible on the bad ratings for in the App Store, negative reviews in the social media. Most of those costs don't appear in the quality assurance budget line. They will appear in the operations, in the IT, marketing, and risk. When we put them together, the question changes from is testing expensive to the how expensive is a poor quality for us right now.
So we have the why. Quality is real risk and it's expensive when it's not good enough. Now let's talk about how. You and your team built a journey that shows where organizations are today and where they can go in 4 key areas. When you start with new client, what does the current situation look like and what is the target you want to reach?
Well, in our normal operation model, we normally look at the 4 areas: the test automation, test data management, performance testing, and test environment management. And the situation that we often see in the client environment is that the test automation is sometimes not existent or performed in the wrong way, let's say. Also, we can see the manual heavy regression testing, which is continuous activities from the testing point of view, and it's a prime place to automate. Also, the impact on the automation has the lack of people, not enough people performing preparation of the automated scripts and doing the jobs. Another problem for the automation that we can see is that tooling for the automation is not standardized. There are many frameworks in use which impact the maintenance of the automated scripts. And the thing that is, from my point of view, very important, and sometimes it's not visible there is no sign of a single place to track the progress of the testing effort. In the test data management section, we can see that in most cases, test data is prepared manually. It takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort, and sometimes the process of test data preparation is longer than the running the test itself. So, strange thing. We also saw and found that there is no central data repository. So in most cases, the data is used only once, and then the process of data preparation starts once again. There is no reusability implemented. And also, as a result of the previous things that I mentioned, there are no tools for the automated data preparation and the data management. In the case of performance test, we saw the preparation and execution of those tests is done manually and ad hoc. Also, the thing that we saw in one case, there was no clear plan for the performance test to be run in some sort of cycle. There are no dedicated resources to perform the performance test. I heard once this saying that you are a tester, you will run the session of the performance test. It's not exactly the best approach, especially that the performance tests are the specific kind of test that it's good to have dedicated resources that will be responsible for the preparation and maintenance of those tests. So just to not fall in the situation where you will be looking for the people who will be able to run those tests for you. And in the environment management part of those assessments, we saw that the knowledge regarding the data, the test environments is spread between so many people that no one has a clear picture what we have in the environments, what environments we are able to use. The management and the scheduling of the usage of those environments is done almost, I would say, manually, because there is now no such thing as a central repository for those environments where you can reserve the time to run your tests. Sorry. And often from that, we get the situation where we are blocking, where the teams trying to run the tests are blocking each other because they are trying to run their test activities on the same environment at the same time. So our approach to this is to move to the situation where, where the testing, especially the continuous activities from the testing point of view, are automated. So our solution contains the regression test for the key systems to be automated, the standardization of the required tools, and the execution process and error bug triage inside are displayed in the real time. So it solves most of the problems with the test automation and as for the addressing the test data management part, first what we do is we clearly define the required data sets. We propose the tooling and the management tools for data generation and anonymization, which provide us with the automated data preparation process, which will be consistent and repeatable. And as a last thing for the data, we established data repository. As for the performance test, first we start with the definition of the requirements for the performance. We describe the overall process of the performance testing and what sort of data will be required to run those tests. The scripting is done with the proper tools because it's important that the overall testing process will be run in synergy with other testing activities. And in the environment, we create the inventory for the environments. This environment management process are defined and then measurements are set in place. The overall configuration of the environments is done the way that it's visible what is available on the particular environment that we are trying to use. And the overall management over the scheduling and also the configuration of the management is automated. And those actions, when we implement our way of working, will get you the significant values like an execution time decrease. Time to market will be shortened. All the decisions are based on the dashboards and data. Preparation effort for the test data is reduced, and the governance process are improved with those steps. The performance testing will help you with regulatory requirements and with infrastructure optimization. Environment maintenance effort goes down, governance is clear, and we have a full visibility of the test environments and activities.
So, this is not just a theory, it sounds like a practical way to move from we somehow manage to we are in control in automation, data, performance, and environments. But to make this journey work, all teams need to play together, yeah? So you also use a process model that shows how quality assurance links business goals, risk, and daily work. Can you explain this model in a simple way?
Sure, yeah. The test process models show that quality assurance is not just the running test at the end. We start with identifying business needs and objectives, including business and compliance requirements. This is where we understand what we want to protect and why. Then we define the testing strategy and approach, scope, timeline, entry and exit criteria. Next comes the risk assessment and the prioritization. This is risk-based testing. We use risk to decide where to focus. We then design test scenarios, test cases, require data definition, test data design, sourcing flow. And after that, we prepare the test environments. We adjust, clean, reserve environments together with the infrastructure, network, security, database teams. After that, we move to test execution, including automation, design, and development. By that I mean the functional. We reserve also the resources like functional testers, performance testers, automation engineers. They need to all work together. Finally, we have the reporting and analysis. We look at the quality measures such as coverage, defect density, KPIs, and we give clear information back to the business and IT. So from left to the right, we go from business needs to business relevant reports with all teams like functional tests, performance tests, test automation, test data management, test environment is included.
In other words, risk and business needs are the starting point, and the whole quality assurance process is built around them. So in all four of these areas, there are very real everyday challenge. I'm sure many people here now are thinking, okay, how do you actually handle them? So I think about the question, Piotr, if you could walk us through the main issue you see and how do you deal with them in practice?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the test automation. The major risk is testing without the strategy. So what I mean by that is that there's in some people's heads there's a concept that test automation is the answer to all the questions. We'll automate, everything will be faster, we will perform million tests in the one day, and so on and so forth. But without connecting it to some sort of strategy to define the clear goals, what we are trying to achieve with the test automation is just generating code tests just for the sake of generation. I myself, I got in my career this, I've fallen into this pit. I've created the test for 96 separated sorting options in one application. And I did it in the single test script. It was verifying those options, but this test was completely disconnected from some sort of overall strategy, and it was the results from it were not giving us much. And by this example, we can move to the next problem with the automation as overcomplicated scripts. The script was complicated, it was running low, especially that was created on the application in the early stages of development. So the optimization of this process was, let's say, lacking. In the later iterations, I split this particular test script into the scenarios where I was just using this single option from this script and verifying the overall functionality, which was definitely better. The script, because the later scripts were more modular, the components of this previous script were made reusable in the different stories and was giving us better coverage of the functionality than this one huge test that was almost giving us nothing as looking from the point of view of value. Also, the important part as a risk is looking for the automation risk is ignoring collaboration. Sometimes we can see this as a lack of transparency between development and the test automation team. Sometimes developers do not inform the automation team about some changes in the code that will be tested. It can result in breakage of the test, long story short. So the transparency and collaboration between development and testing team, especially the automation team, is very important to give information about the changes in the code to the automation team as fast as possible. Also, the important part from the automation point of view is version control. If you got the full version control, there is a possibility that your daily runs of the test for the application will run on the not the latest or a different version from the different branch, and it will give you the false results for the test. And this problem can impact you very hard, to be frank, because I've seen that in one of the teams that they were, for the long period of time, they were convinced that everything is fine, everything is working perfectly. And the problem was that the developer was working on his private branch. And from his point of view, he was pushing all the changes to the repository. And the feedback from the testing team was that everything is fine, everything is correct. And later on, I think it was like after 2 weeks, they finally done the merge of the code from the developer branch, and then it was right before the release. And then the crunch with fixing the tests for this solution was terrible. So also, this lack of documentation can impact automated testing, because if you got the correct documentation, there is a possibility to run the development and test automation generation simultaneously, because there is a possibility that the test automation engineer will be able to write the code, write the tests based on the requirements, and then the changes that he will need to apply to the tests when he starts to test them against the actual software are smaller, so the time required to cover those gaps is definitely shorter. And I think we could move to the test data changes. So as for the data, the risks are, as you can see, 6 different stories. But starting from the left, we'll go with the usage of the production data in the test environment, especially if you are not running the automated anonymization, is hard. Also, if you are not controlling the test data generation process in the test environment and you are using the physical data, there is a possibility that you will be able to use this data only once. There won't be a possibility to implement the reusability of test data. Also, if you are generating data manually, you will face this problem with amount of work that you need to put to prepare the data for the testing sessions. Also, it also will be impacted by the insufficient data variety, because if you are generating this data manually, well, you won't do much of it, or you will need to face the alternative that the time that you will need to spend to provide yourself with sufficient variety of the data, you will spend a lot of time on it. Also, as for the data in the not automated test data generation environment, the reference of the data is a problem, because if you are using like drops from the production database, they will differ between each other. So even loading the data from the scripts, from the database drops, can differ from each other, and then it will probably impact your automated testing. And last but not least, the data security. In the manual procedure generation test data, you need to implement some sort of data anonymization. If not running this automatically, it impacts insufficient variety, uncontrolled refreshes, and also the poor traceability of the data and the results connected to it. And I think we can move further. So the next on the list, we should talk about the performance testing and addressing this the risk of testing too late. Continuous performance testing is very important from the point of view of on the level of starting from the component testing. You can build this picture where you can see how the connection of the components impacts the overall performance of the functionality or application that you are working on. If you start testing late, then you got this fuzzy picture that application is slow or is unstable or something in between. And you cannot, you will have a problem tracing back what might be the cause of the problem. So performance testing should be done in the way that you are starting it early and you will perform it continuously during the whole process of production of the software. That will give you the clear picture what impact the collection of the components have on the overall performance of the application, on stability, on retainability of the traffic, and so on and so forth. So there is the shortened version of what we need to do and how we need to approach to performance testing. And as for the test environment, that's a thing that in many cases is forgotten, because you need to remember that you're running the tests in some sort of configuration, in some place. You're not running the test just against the application that you are testing. You need to verify it in the environment where it will be living and will be used by the client. So the overall control over the test environment is very important from the testing point of view, and also from the quality assurance point of view. As if you control the environment in which you are testing, you can be sure that the results that you are receiving are measurable and correct. If you are not controlling the environment, you don't know what sort of components are included in the environment, there is a risk that some sort of component will interact with the application of the test. And if you are not aware what changes were made between two different sessions, then tracking of the problem will be very, very grueling activity. Also, important thing in the environment point of view is documentation of the setup, the rule books of the usage, the guidelines, how to set up the environment before each and every testing activity. And from the team activities point of view, the important is that important part is to be able to reserve the time of the particular test environment. So you can be sure that your plan, that you will be run the tests from here to there, will have possibility to run them on the environment that you require to run this test. So it's more or less I'm covering the very high level risks and the solutions, what to do in those 4 pillars that we are proposing here.
Yeah, from the business side, that simply means less surprise before go live and less trouble in production. Starting with the famous sentence, it was working in test. So now that we have covered this area, the process and the risk, there is one more question, Piotr. Who should own and coordinate all of this? More and more organization thinks about quality assurance as a center of excellence or a non-functional testing unit. How do you see the target operating model for such a unit?
Well, we usually are talking about the 9 steps. The first and most important is the clear definition of the strategy and the objectives that we are trying to achieve during this process of transition, in which we will define why the unit exists, what the scope it covers, and how it supports business strategy and compliance. The second step would be the implementation of the governance and processes. Well, the process of approval, the policies, methodologies, and decision path. Next one would be the organizational role. You need to define the structure. You need to clearly define the roles and the responsibilities between the quality assurance, development, and business. As a next step, the important is the people and skills. you need to build some sort of competence framework. You need to set up the training regimes, the paths of certification that will be required in your defined process, and I think the important is the retention of the knowledge in those teams. Next thing would be technology and tools that you will want to use. Important part to optimize the process of the quality assurance is the standardization of the tools for the automatization of the test. Performance, automation of the test data generation, and also the tools for automated test environment deployment and management. You need to, as a next step, set up the processes and methodologies. You need to implement planning, execution, monitoring, the reporting flows for each area that you will be working on. Also important part in this work there are the metrics and reporting. You need to define the KPIs. You need to set up the dashboards which will provide you with the visibility of the overall quality assurance process. You need to implement regular reporting cycles to the management and to the risk assessment teams. You need to implement the risk management compliance. Tooling to enterprise risk, to risk-based prioritization, and regulatory requirements. As example, you need to this regulatory meet the regulatory requirements for the banking industry, like DORA, KNF, SAMA. And the last step, the ninth step, is continuous improvements. The whole thing, the whole process, the whole 9 steps need to work in loops. The feedback is very important. You need to implement the maturity assessment of the overall quality assurance processes in the company that you are working with. And also, I think that the creation of the innovation backlog is very important. And when all those 9 things are in place, the quality assurance becomes a structured, structured function that manages quality risk in a reputable, transparent way, and is seen as a partner for the business and technology, not just the test factory.
So from the business perspective, this is exactly the shift we need from quality assurance as a cost in IT to quality assurance as a partner for risk and for customer trust in the product. So thank you, Piotr. We are coming to the end of our session. Today we talk about why quality is now operational risk, how a structured quality assurance approach helps to control risk, and what a practical setup for quality assurance in your organization can look like. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I don't see any questions in the chat right now. So if something comes to your mind later, please feel free to contact us directly. We will be happy to continue this conversation after the webinar. Piotr, once again, thank you very much for information from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.